The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
It's the podcast coming to you Thursday, September 11th, 2025 rather. Recording this for the Friday show. Recording this on Thursday, of course, at about left at noon actually. It has been a very somber day here, not just in the Christian household, but also in the world here in America. Things have been very somber. It is today also the 24th anniversary of 9/11 as well. And you guys know my story. I don't have to explain it over again. I was literally in New York 24 years ago, just a little over 24 hours before the attacks happened. You guys know my story. I was in New York that weekend to see Michael Jackson, which will be his last concert of his career. He performed at the Garden on September 7th and the 10th. I went to the first show on the 7th, on the Friday, and I considered staying for the last show on the 10th, the night before 9/11 happened, and decided not to do it last minute because it just didn't work out. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do that because obviously everything happened the day after. I would have been stuck in there the next day, and I probably would have stuck in New York for extra days. No, I have family in New York and stay that, but still, to be around that tragedy and all that. But it's a somber day because here's the deal: the State of the Union is not good. It's not good. Yesterday we had a tragedy, and yes, the guy is polarizing. We get all that, but it's still a tragedy nonetheless. Any life lost like that, whether I don't give a crap what political persuasion you are, left, right, Democrat, conservative, liberal, Republican. I don't care. A life lost like that is still a tragedy, no matter how you slice it. Okay, I am so over the devaluation of life across the board. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. I'm so over it at this point right now. Okay, Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, was shot and killed on Wednesday rather. During an event at Utah Valley University, he was 31 years old. The incident occurred while Kirk was participating in his organization's the American Comeback Tour, specifically during a, quote, prove me wrong debate where he engages with students. Authorities have stated so far that the shooting is believed to be a targeted attack, with the shooter reportedly firing from the roof of a building. A manhunt for the shooter is ongoing, and while one person was taken to custody, they were later released after questioning. Now, they actually released two people they thought was the shooter, was not, or person of interest, rather. Tribute support in for political figures, including President Donald Trump, who called the event an assassination. Kirk was a prominent figure in conservative politics, known for his work with Turning Point USA, an organization aimed at mobilizing young people for conservative causes. He was also a podcast host and author. He was also a father of two and a husband. And I think when we get ourselves outside the political sphere and our feelings about what he says and may not say and all that, that's still reality. He's still a father and a husband. I'm not mourning Charlie Kirk, although it's a very sad situation. I had a lot of disagreements with Charlie Kirk, politically speaking, a lot. And I followed this kid from 2018, I think, on. Very bright kid. We just had a lot of disagreements when it came to a lot of the politics. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of my best friends are diametrically opposed of politically, and we're still best friends. What I'm mourning here, as I said earlier, is the state of our union. It's not good, bro. It is not good. We have come to a place now where, And look, here's the deal. We still don't know whether or not the attacker was a leftist, a liberal. Look, the odds are probably is politically motivated. The odds are. But because we don't know who it is, who the shooter is, we don't know if the shooter is a female. We don't even know if it's a male or female. We don't know if it's a black, white. We don't know. And we're already assuming, many people are already assuming that this was a leftist agenda, a liberal. And look, odds are it might be. Okay? We just don't know. And my bigger point is the very fact that the first line of defense, the first reaction is, oh, the left, this, that, this, and that. And that they did this. It's a problem. And if you can't see that, then you cannot see the forest through the trees. You are now far gone. Okay? At the same time, people on the left that I've seen have shown, some of them, not all, but many people I've seen, have shown little to no empathy on the situation as a whole. And I understand you have massive issues with Charlie Kirk's politics on the left. That doesn't mean you shouldn't feel, at the very least, bad for his wife and his children. Okay? I'm a father. I'm a husband. A father of two. Okay? So right there, we relate right there with me and Charlie Kirk. The devaluation of life as a whole is a problem. And I'm so sick and fucking tired of all these people and us people. Because here's the deal. We sit here and we're going to blame Trump. We blame Obama. We blame Biden. We blame this, that, and the third. Okay? I'm sorry. Don't we have our own brains? We think for ourselves, right? So we can decide as people, as individuals, what is and isn't, what's right and wrong. We, at the end of the day, empower these people, okay? So at the end of the day, we have more control more than you think. And to sit there and blame others for things, and look, whether or not he had certain rhetoric out there, and believe me, I'll tell you, like I said, most of the things he said, I disagree with. But at the end of the day, okay, as people, we can choose to say, oh, I don't agree with you. I'm out. Or, I agree with you. I'm in. And that's how it works. That's how dialogue works. You guys know I am a free speech absolutist. First Amendment guy, okay? I don't like racists. I don't like people like that of that ilk. But I will defend the right for them to have speech. Because here's the deal. It will always, and it always has, worked itself out anyway. So the state of our union is not good. Okay? And now I have even personal friends of mine on the right who I love dearly that are getting radicalized now on this stuff. And you know what I told them? I go, dude, y'all gotta pray. If you believe in Jesus Christ, and you believe in God, as you say, and you keep telling me you do, your first action as a Christian man, and I know this because I'm a Christian man myself. Now, this is the last name, but I've been saved since 12 years old. Is to pray. Pray. What does God want for you to do? Put up your feelings on this. What does God want? And that's what it comes back down to for me. Is getting back to a human level. A human level. Okay? It is okay to not like the guy, but also understand that he is still a father and a husband. And there are people who love him. Okay? At the same time, on the other side, don't weaponize this shit. Don't weaponize this to justify being angry and to justify lashing out on people you don't like politically. For crying out loud, we don't even know who the fuck shot him. We still don't know. Let's be responsible human beings, please. Let's be responsible. Like, seriously. Like, I am so over this shit. I'm so over all of this. I told my wife the other day, I told you yesterday, like, I just want to go to the hole. I'm going to go home. Like, I'm at a point now where I just want to take care of my wife, my kids, do my podcast, enjoy my life, travel, watch sports, watch wrestling. People say, well, you need to be more engaged. No, I need to do what the hell I want to do for my own mental health. There's a reason why I told you. There's a reason why in the last year I've backed off on talking politics as much as I have in the past on this show. And it's not because I don't enjoy talking about it. It's just that it is so polarizing now. Okay, you say one thing, it's being misinterpreted. I got people on my side of the aisle thinking I'm some MAGA dude because I may have one agreement with someone on my side, or at worst, having people who I don't disagree with politically on my show. Which, by the way, it's my fucking show. You don't like it? Don't watch it. I am a firm believer in dialogue. Okay, how else are you going to learn? How else are you going to learn? So I'm just sick of it. I'm just burnt out. I'm burnt out. You know, and it's so fitting that this happens the day before 9/11. 24 years after the biggest tragedy on the mainland since the Civil War. It's unbelievable. You know, the man has a wife and kids. And look, I know some people listen to this podcast and they look at me and say, well, why are you defending this? I'm not defending this dude. I've made it clear many times. I have no, you know, I found him personally from a political point of view problematic in some ways. That doesn't mean I want him killed. Doesn't mean anybody should be killed. He didn't harm anybody. He didn't physically harm anybody. And until we get to a place where we can actually get back to basics and start using emotional ways, we're done, society. We're done. You thought COVID was the worst of the worst. No. And to think that in an era where, you know, we have more free speech, we have more rights now than we ever had, because people forget, before 1964, I couldn't marry my wife, my Jewish white wife, okay? Because that's the law, because I'm a black man. So people lack perspective. People lack perspective on life as a whole, okay? Are things great right now? No. We are a broken country. But that doesn't mean we couldn't get better. All these things here, all these things that we go through right now are very fixable. Every single one of them, fixable. But we need to choose that. We look at a man in the mirror. We need to choose whether we want to fix that or not. You know where it starts also too? It starts in your home. It starts in the community. Being nice, being kind to people. Forget religion, forget politics. Just be kind. Hold the door for somebody. You know? Say hi. How are you doing? How's your day? Let's get back to that. You know, we're at a place now in society where even though we're more connected because of social media and the internet and all that, yet we are even more disconnected because of politics, because of everything else around that, because of religion, because of anything we can find that can divide us, we find ways to do that. And guess what? It's not, you know, we sit there and blame, oh, it's social media, oh, it's this politician here. No, it's us. We're not stupid. We choose to be stupid. Okay? We can be smarter. We can make good decisions as human beings. We choose not to do that. Okay? And this is why we are where we are. Our moral fiber as society is bad. The devaluation of life. No one cares. People look at death now and say, And by the way, that's not exclusive to any party. That's everybody. That's across the board. That's done on both sides. We don't value life anymore as a whole, across the board. And I don't know where that stemmed from. People have their own theories, and that's fine. But this is where we are as a society. We just don't value life anymore. And this tragedy here, this assassination of Charlie Kirk, this killing is a pure example of that. So, even though I wasn't a fan of the guy, rest in peace. You know, prayers to his wife. I think Emily's his name, or her name's Emily. His 2 kids. I'm a father of 2, and I'm a wife. I mourn that especially. I can relate to that. He's a human being in the day. So, anyway, no way to segue with that one, but we'll figure it out here. Week 2. Well, by the time I hear this recording, actually, the first game of week 2 will be in the books. Commanders, Packers, huge game. So you're not going to really. I I can't really give any my take on that because by the time this podcast comes out, we passed that. So I'm gonna get my week 2 best bets, gambling bets for the week. I normally post these on social media. I didn't post them. I didn't do anything of the sort on this show, but I'm gonna start doing on the Thursday show moving forward, posting my week 2 best bets. Yeah, we have. I'm 1-4 so far. I had a really bad week, to say the least. 1-4. But we're gonna keep rolling here. Here are my 5 bets. My 5 best bets of the week. Okay, Dolphins against the Patriots at home. Must win for the Dolphins. You already know how things goes. I'm gonna put it out there for you guys. This is the season for the Dolphins. This game is the season because if they lose to the Patriots at home, they're 0-2. They're traveling to Buffalo in week 3 on a short week. Just going for 0-3. Okay, put in the books. Okay, things are bad as is when it comes to the Dolphins, and we got to fire McDaniel, we got to trade Tyreek Hill. Tua's done. This and that. A win this weekend won't end that talk, but it will calm it down a little bit. You at least feel okay. All right, we got to win. Even if we lose to Buffalo 1-2, the schedule gets a little softer for a couple of weeks. Maybe have a chance to turn things around. But a loss here will only exacerbate the issues, exacerbate the conversation around Mike McDaniel, around Tua, everything else in between, and Chris Greer. So the good thing for the Dolphins, though, because there's a lot of hype coming to the year by the Patriots, and they came to the year, and then they put up a dud last week against the Raiders. Now, the Raiders might be a lot better than we give them credit for. Having said that, I think the Dolphins, for 1 week, will come out firing all cylinders. The fact this line hasn't moved at all it's strange. Dolphins cover win this game and win this game one away, -1. Give me Dolphins win -1. My first bet of the week. Second bet, I like the under. Let me see the number. I lost the number here actually. On the Seahawks and the Steelers. The over-under number is 39.5. Give me the under that one. I think Pittsburgh wins this game, but the best bet's the under. I don't see Aaron Rodgers throwing for 4 touchdowns again this game, but I think both these defenses are pretty solid, and I think this will be a very, very this will be a slobber knocker. Put it that way. In the words of Jim Ross, right? My third game here, my pick, another under on the Broncos and the Colts. Denver at Indianapolis. This is my personal game of the week. Obviously, we have the big game, Commanders and Packers. We have the Eagles and Chiefs rematch. Okay? But this game for me is going to answer some questions for me. We saw last week Daniel Jones having a huge week. Okay? Huge game against Miami. Okay? I saw some things in that game that feels like it could be sustainable going forward, long term. Denver, I believe, is overvalued. A lot of folks are big on the Denver Broncos, and them being they were a playoff team last year. Some people say they could probably win the AFC West. Who knows? I don't see that personally. But this game could answer a lot of questions here. The AFC South is wide open. Houston's out the gate 0-1. They may go 0-2 again by the time this weekend's over. If Indy wins this game, they're 2-0. All of a sudden, we have a conversation about the AFC South changing the dynamic there. I think Indy wins the game, but my best bet for this weekend is the under at 42.5. These are two really solid defenses here. My fourth game here on my best bets, the Ravens are -11.5 over Cleveland. I think the Ravens are freaking seething after that loss to Buffalo, and it's their fault. It's their fault. Okay. I think Lamar and Derrick Henry goes nuts, and I understand the Browns are they were tough against Cincinnati. They were tough. They should have probably won that game. But the Ravens, I came away that game against Buffalo saying that even though they lost the game, they are still the better team. They are still the better team of the two. Okay, I'm going to take Baltimore to win this game in a romp. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with Cleveland. It has to do with more Baltimore and just get out there and covering the spread. I think they'll cover the spread easily, to be honest with you. I'm surprised the spread's not higher than 11.5, honestly. And my final game is going to be the Sunday game, which I think my second game of the week here, Falcons at Vikings. I'm taking the over in that game. Michael Penix Jr. was slinging the ball last week against Tampa Bay in that loss. Minnesota, after that slow start by J.J. McCarthy, turned on the fourth quarter. Okay? 44.5 seems very low. These are two really solid offenses. I think you're going to get, at the very least, a 30-27 game here. I like the over in this game at 44.5. I think you're stealing on here, honestly, on that spread. So, again, Miami -1 over New England. I like the under at 39.5 at Seattle and Pittsburgh. Give me the under also at Denver versus the Colts. The Ravens to cover 11.5 points against Cleveland, and then the over on Falcons at Vikings. Okay, those are my best bets week 2. I'm week 4, but let's turn this bitch around. Okay, let's really turn this shit around. Okay, all right, some wrestling talk here. So Booker T, as you guys know, Booker T is a legendary Hall of Fame wrestler for WWE and WCW as well too. He also has his own podcast, and I like him a lot. He's very opinionated. You know, some people might say something about hot take artists. I don't care. He's good at what he does. He's on his podcast was having a conversation about Ronda Rousey. Now, Ronda Rousey, you guys know, UFC legend. Also, WWE came to WWE, I think, 2015, 2016. Stayed there a couple of years, come back a couple times, and then she's retired since then. Well, not retired, but she's been gone for about a year, maybe 2 years. Ronda Rousey has been very vocal about her time in WWE, and most of the rhetoric has been negative when it comes to what she feels about both Vince McMahon and WWE at large. So, my boy, what's his face, Booker T, had a lot to say about that on his podcast about Ronda Rousey and her feelings on the WWE at large, and he weighed in on that situation. If I can get this to play, let me see. All right, here he goes.
Can we talk for a minute? Can we talk for a minute?
I remember the last time Ronda Rousey worked in the WWE, and we were on the rental car bus, and it was me and Corey Graves and a couple of other guys, and we came to Ronda's stop first, for her to get off and go to the airport, and Ronda was walking across to the terminal, and I said, as she walks out of our lives forever. Everybody cracked up, needless to say, she's back. Ronda Rousey's another one, man. I think the wrestling world opened the doors to her, and she just spit in the face of professional wrestling.
Feels like it a little bit.
That's what she's done. It's a reason why people don't like you. You know what I mean? I don't hear any of her old comrades in the UFC saying anything good about Ronda Rousey. Man, it would be great to have Ronda Rousey back for a reunion. Oh, it would be great to have Ronda here as an ambassador. Oh, it would be great to hear Ronda do some comment. Nobody cares about Ronda Rousey but herself. She's got a very, very high, self-esteem, as far as, looking at herself a certain way. But I don't think anybody else, looks at Ronda that way, just because there again, I don't know why she have so much hate and vitriol for the wrestling business, a business that let her in to go out there and have moments like at WrestleMania, giving her the rowdy Ronda Rousey gimmick, right off the bat, making her, something when so many other people wish they had, a spotlight like that. I don't get it, me, myself. I don't know. Maybe it's a star thing. Maybe it's one of those things to where you feel like, you're better than. I don't know. I really don't know. But I really feel like Ronda Rousey was given everything in this business. I really feel like this business opened the door for Ronda Rousey to come in and have a great time and do her thing and make a lot of money. And I can almost guarantee you this. Ronda probably made more money with the WWE than she made in UFC.
Well, that's Booker T, of course, commenting on Ronda Rousey and her time, and basically her lashing out at WWE and her time WWE. And he's mostly right about that. I will say to Ronda's credit though, that was a marriage, and even marriage, because Ronda at the time she came to WWE, was associated with WWE, was at the highest point of her career. And then the Holly Holmes loss happened, and then she lost again, I think, to Amanda Nunes, and then she came to WWE. She still had a name, and WWE loves names. Vince has always loved big names. Look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was, a guy that came off the a year later, he's in WWE. Okay, so it worked both ways, but I do think that Ronda, in a lot of ways, does come off a little ungrateful. Look, I don't know what happened to her in the locker room. I don't know if there were things that happened to her that made her feel very, very jaded from the businesses at large and the company at large. But I do think that she definitely made a lot of money with WWE. I do think it definitely sustained her career because think about it. If she just come to WWE in 2017, whatever it was, I think it was 2017, 2018, okay? After the 2 losses she had between Holly Holm and Renee Nunez, what is she doing at that point? She's going to go to Hollywood and act? And no offense to her, I mean, I haven't seen her do much in there. WWE, if anything, sustained her and gave her relevancy for at least another 5 years. So yeah, I do agree with Booker T. I know Booker T could be a bit, takeish on this, and he's a bit of a WWE homer, but I've been saying for years that Ronda Rousey does come off a little ungrateful when it comes to her time in WWE. But that's her loss, man. I guess for this point, does it mean that you would never see her again in WWE? I won't rule it out because we've seen. Now, granted, this is not the Vince McMahon era, but if there's business to be done, they will do business. If Ronda Rousey still has a pulse, and people still care about Ronda Rousey, which people say they don't, but then you look at the numbers, they say otherwise. You know what I'm saying? You say one thing, but then the numbers say otherwise. Again, data is data. You know what I'm saying? So you can't manipulate data. Like, I mean, you could, but you really can't manipulate data. So if she goes back to WWE and there's interest, WWE will tap into that one more time. You know that. So, all right. Some NBA talk here. Ben Simmons turns on the Knicks. From Mark Stein, the Knicks, league sources said, indeed offered a 1-year contract to Ben Simmons that former All-Star passed on. The Knicks is limited to minimum contract offers as training camps draw near, and Simmons entered the summer hopeful to securing a contract above the minimum after he was split last season between the Brooklyn Nets and the LA Clippers. Simmons says he isn't settling even after the Knicks made their move. Despite spending the previous season alternating between Brooklyn and LA, he feels his worth exceeds $1 million contract. The focus on changes. What? Bro. First off, I mean, and look, granted, there might be a team that'd be desperate enough to take Simmons on, but you haven't played quality basketball in about 4 years. And granted, you are young, but you are as polarized as they come. How are you in a position to turn down any deal at this point now? Provided, number one, you even want to play at all, because there's been rumors for years that you don't even care about basketball. So you already done ruined your career. You were one of the best players in the league at one point a couple of years ago, and then you had the meltdown in Philadelphia in that playoff game with Atlanta. And ever since then, things have just been bad. Okay? You're making their point. You are in no position to turn down contracts. I don't see. Look, I don't want to say this because there are a lot of stupid teams out there, okay, that will do this, that offer him a multi-year deal for maybe for more than a minimum contract. He doesn't deserve that though, because he hasn't deserved it in a couple of years. He hasn't played quality basketball in a couple of years, and when he's played basketball, he's been at best mid. I can't even give him that. So I don't know how you're in position to turn on contracts at this point now, dude. But that is like bonkers to me that you're in a position to be doing this crap. So. You guys remember the Last Dance documentary, the Michael Jordan documentary that came out during COVID, which everybody enjoyed? There's still more blowback, apparently. Horace Grant has recently spoke out about the documentary. He has said he has several grievances with the documentary. Now, Horace Grant, of course, played on the Bulls from 87 to 94. He played on the first 3 title teams with Jordan. And by the way, I'm going to say for the record, as a basketball nerd myself, people say, the Bulls didn't have a big 3. In that first 3. Yeah, he did. It was Jordan, Pippen, and Grant. Do not knock Horace Grant. Horace Grant was just as important to that Bulls championship team as Dennis Rodman was to those last 3. Okay? If you say I'm wrong, you don't know basketball. Trust me. Anyway, Horace Grant has had a lot of grievances with the documentary. His main points of contention are, number one, being this label as a source. Grant states that Jordan's accusation in the documentary that Grant was the primary source for Stan Smith's book, The Jordan Rules, by which Stan Smith's been on this podcast before in the past. It's a downright, outright complete lie. He believes Jordan made his claim out of a long-standing grudge, and that a lot of things said to teammates were edited out. Grant also points out that Smith, as the investigative reporter, would have needed 2 sources. Another grievance: the portrayal of Scottie Pippen. Grant believes that Scottie Pippen was portrayed unfairly and so badly. He specifically cites that the documentary focused on Pippen's migraine and decision to sit out in the final seconds of the 1994 playoff game, despite the fact that Jordan was even on the team at the time. The portrayal of Jerry Krause. Grant felt the documentary gave the Bulls gives the former Bulls general manager Jerry Krause a raw deal. He believes that since Krause is deceased and can defend himself, the documentary's portrayal of him, which includes Jordan and Pippen's mocking him, was unfair. And then, of course, his number one thing, the general inaccuracy, that Grant claims that about 90% of it was bullshit. In terms of the realness of it, he asserts on a lot of things Jordan said to his teammates, and the teammates' responses were cut out, edited out. He also feels that the documentary was edited out to make him look soft. All right, let's get to the first part of the source. That's a he said thing here with Sam Smith. I like Sam Smith. I have his book. He's been on this podcast actually multiple times through the years. So I you know, I don't know. That one is a little more spotty for me. The portrayal of Scottie Pippen, I understand where he's coming from. But the feelings I had of Pippen at the time too, when he did what he did, were, in my opinion, were accurate in the sense that Pippen and the way he acted in the 94 playoff game, there was nothing you can tell me about that situation that was any good for Pippen at all. You're a star player. You're one of the best players in the league at that time. Jordan's not there. You pull yourself out of a game because Phil Jackson decided to write a play for Tony Coco did it for you. There's nothing good that came out of that. I'm sorry. You create his own hole. I might even defend Michael Jordan. You guys know how I feel about Michael Jordan. Pippen dug his own hole in that one. I hate to break it to you. Pippen dug his own hole in that situation. So there's nothing that Pippen could have done, honestly, outside of like this going along. The migraine thing, obviously, yeah, it was a portrayed play differently. Yes, Pippen played a little strong. At the same time, though, the stuff in '94 in the playoff game and sitting out, no, I can't defend Grant on that one. That was still wrong. Don't get me. The thing is, I don't need Jordan to be on the team to stat as a fan. That's a bad look. End of discussion. Anybody with a fucking brain will tell you that. Now, here's where I'll agree with him on. The portrayal of Jerry Krause. They definitely rode Krause hard. Krause definitely should get blamed, as I've been saying for years, should get blamed for the break of that team. Some blame. I've been saying for years, though, that Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, should get more blame. Because he's the owner. He's the owner. There is no way. If you say, no, keep this team together after 1998, they're together. You're the boss. So Reinsdorf gets off bad. Both things be right here. Jerry Krause, yes, petty as shit, all that. Also, Jerry Krause, one of the greatest executives in the history of basketball. Okay? He put together that team. He's the one that drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. He's the one that made the rules to get Dennis Rodman. He did that. Michael Jordan didn't have as much. People always assume that Michael Jordan had a lot of say-so of this team in terms of executive decisions. He really didn't. He really didn't. Jerry Krause is the one that put those teams together. So we can hate Jerry Krause for how he operated at the very end of that dynasty for the Bulls, but at the same time, that dynasty isn't where it was without Jerry Krause. End of discussion. So I disagree with that part. I agree with Grant on 100%. And again, the inaccuracies, of course, yeah, it was definitely a Jordan fluff fest. There's no question about that. We were starved for content at that time, so I get it. The thing with me is that I have a lot of issues with Michael Jordan personally, and a lot of things he's done and said that bother me. But I also know Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. I don't let my feelings for someone skew what is reality on the court. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Okay? I watched Jordan at his peak powers. No one better, in my opinion. Okay? I also agree with what Horace said, too, also that stuff were cut out and edited out. I 100% think that happened, without question. 100% without question, that happened. Okay? So, that documentary was very, very strategic, if you will. So, we'll leave it at that. All right. One thing out of here. So, I've been going through this little, not rabbit hole, but I've been very, very interested in this thing. And I actually got this thing from Vince Russo, actually. Vince Russo was a W writer from the Attitude Era. And he was talking about something about, like, celebrities who might be cloned. Which to me, look, I don't do conspiracy theories. I'm not big into that anyway. I'm not saying all of them are